not a lot of people. Some people confuse the company as called Redshift, but Alta Motors, Redshift MX, Redshift EX. And then on the way, we have an MXR, and I think we have a Supermoto or the SM on the way. All of them are under the Redshift family, right?
Okay.
These guys actually share the same powertrain. That is our standard battery pack, 5.8 amp hours. These both produce about 40 horsepower to the rear tire and about 120 foot-pounds, which is one of the big differences that electric drivetrain is over a normal internal combustion motor. Chassis are very similar, though the setup's a little bit different. And I'll get into the EX in a minute, but this is kind of the base model. This is where it starts. Retail starts at $10,495 plus your charger. All new for this year's white bodywork. I think we're sticking with the same tires. These are
they the Bridgestones?
I think the Bridgestone's still on this.
Yeah.
WP suspension, so we got the 4CS forks and the similar shock, so it's stuff that you guys will be familiar with. That's been around for a few years here.
Oh, got it.
The analog for most of the running gear is the 2014 KTM as far as the shocks and the brakes.
Warp 9 wheels, and some componentry that I think you guys will normally recognize. Brembo brakes all the way around, nice steel braided lines, nice fit and finish on these bikes, and is comparable to some of the 250s on the market right now. These bikes, I think if you've noticed, have a title, at least here in Oregon, it's worth mentioning, that are not restricted necessarily to off-road, which is nice. It's a little bit of a sidestep, but you can put headlight, tail light if you want, turn signals, and a license plate on these bikes and get them registered. So some people choose to do that, but now with the EX so close in price, I think this is probably the better.
Easier to do.
So it's not exactly as easy as you would think. If you did try and put the wiring harness from the EX on this, it would revert to EX mapping. If you did that, I think we're in the midst of changing that up to where not an end user, but we could go in and dictate what it is.
Yep.
But it's not exactly plug and play. There is
for
a
the
12.
sales staff, if you want to sell something that's street legal, here's your bike.
You go
That's
to
what
the
we got.
EX. As far as like, output, as far as like stator output, does it have more draw because of the headlight and all that?
A little bit, but it's not a huge thing, right?
It's just pulling from the battery.
Yeah,
right?
it is. It's the same
stator,
thing. Yeah,
obviously.
sure.
Both bikes have the 4 riding modes, but they are mapped different, right? So the 4 maps on these bikes are completely different. We've got map 1 on this guy, very easy to ride. It has a very mild way of spinning up, if you would, or maybe you'd say a heavier flywheel effect. We're changing power and torque. We're changing engine braking, and on electric bikes, engine braking means it's regenerative, right? So on D-cell, it's actually putting a little bit of charge back into battery. And then it's changing how quickly the rear tire can spin up. So when we change our riding modes, it's changing those 3 things.
That changes how long the battery will last too.
It can, yeah. We call mode 4 overclocked. Silly name, but overclocked is like, don't care, let's get to it, let's whole shot, or it's fun, right? Let's smash it.
You're not going to take a 50-mile ride on
You aren't going to get, you could if you're super efficient, right? But it's kind of assuming you want to be a little more ham-fisted and smash this thing, so it allows you to. A couple examples of why that's good to have that. Certainly on race day at the MX track, or even on Enduro Cross. Kurt Nichols, raced Enduro Cross on this bike, and it was really, we didn't have even the Enduro model. We kind of modded one of these to work for him. And he would change in different sections of the track every lap. And it's easy to do. You can change it with a button over here. So There may be technical slippy sections that don't have much traction. He'll ride in mode 1 or maybe mode 3, and then where he needs a little bit of a pop to hop up over something or clear a jump, he'll pop it up to 2 or 4. And on the MX models, you kind of hear me staggering those numbers a little bit. That is how on the MX models they're set up. 1 and 3 kind of share a similar rate of speed for the rear tire. One's a low horsepower, one's a higher horsepower, if you think of it that way. Mode 2 and 4 actually are motocross settings and designed for, a better traction situation. So if you've got plenty of traction, you can feed it more power. So mode 2 and 4 will actually spin up quicker, and that's our low and high horsepower.
And that's all on the fly.
Totally on the fly. Yep.
When you press the button, you get an indication on the LED screen. It's not as clear, like say with the KTM, you get the lights that are showing on that. That is a beautiful thing, but on this you have to keep down to look to see which mode you're in on the LCD.
Fred, why don't you come over here? I'll show you how to start this up. You want to film this. All the bikes kind of start the same way. It's a little fiddly for a regular old dirt bike guy who's not used to having a key, but because we're dealing with 350 volt battery, which is a little different, I think there's some regulations that require us to have not only a switch, a key, but also a normal kill switch on here. So it does feel a little bit street bikey for the dirt bike guy. Never heard anybody complain. The first thing that most people will notice is the location of the key. And you get a lot of riders say, oh, I'm going to break that off. Man, I'm telling you right now, I've got almost 1,600 miles of pretty gnarly off-road on Krusty, one of our favorite bikes. Stock key hasn't moved, it hasn't broken, nothing's ever happened to it.
It's made to be when turned on flush. It's some Euro regulation that they were trying to adhere to early on, right? So that when the key is on, it needs to be
It's also locked in. So we turn the key on, the display or the dash lights up. It shows you right on the top here the state of charge the battery is at. Also tells you the riding mode that we're in. We can change that riding mode. Go ahead and hit that button right there. You can go up and the lower button goes down. Yeah. The middle button does nothing right now, but later may be programmed to do something. There's all sorts of options out there for us. It
might be reverse, might be extra power,
a neutral,
might be something like
yeah.
that. Okay. Also, this button here goes to
show your hours.
Your hours if you just press this. Okay. So that one button for right now, that's the only button that is being used. These aren't.
But it's a press and hold.
But yeah, just press and hold, and you're good.
When you're ready to ride the bike, right? We turn the kill switch on, and go ahead and hit that start button right there. You're going to hear a click. That's the connectors of the battery actually putting, you're live, right? That's putting charge to the motor.
Okay.
The dash gives you a nice green glow when you're stopped. That lets you know that the bike is live. If we turn the throttle, right?
This is what could be construed as a fairly dangerous spot. There's no sound. And even when you're trail riding, and I've done it, you stop and you're BSing with somebody, and if you forget to turn that off, you whiskey throttle, you put your hand down, and I whiskey throttle right off the trail one time, because you're just like blah, 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 bzz, right off the trail. So it is, like, it's funny in some ways, but others, it really is gnarly. So as long as that thing is glowing, then it's live, and that's the thing that you got to train everybody. As soon as you stop, turn that off so that it's not glowing. That's just the safest.
Certainly less of a finger wag for the customer that you're selling it to. They'll figure it out the first time they go and ride. But as you guys get more accustomed to doing demos, and that's why we have these bikes, right? We want to ride them. You're getting paid every time a new rider rides this. You get a piece of that. So that's the best way to show somebody what these new bikes are about. But remembering that, and I don't know if you guys remember when you were demoing the bike that I had here, every time someone stopped, I'd kind of reach over and just kill that. And you'll kind of get in the habit of doing the same thing. One of the cool aspects, I don't want to mess your floor up too much here, but one of the rad aspects of electric bike is that you have almost 100% power at 0 RPMs. Like, it will literally dig a hole to whatever's below us, right there, just creeping. So you get that in like a really technical spot, like
Yes.
a rock,
Okay.
side of a hill, like you've eliminated the clutch slipping and the RPM and the stressing about putting your feet down. You literally just go whoop and get over something. It's an easy bike to finesse, and that's definitely one of the selling points of this bike, and definitely makes this experience different. I'm gonna show you. So one of the things that I would recommend for you guys, I would get a crate underneath this thing for display, because you can walk over here at any time and do what I'm about to show you. A little hairier on the triangle. But one of the things to kind of show customers the different riding modes, and if it's a busy Saturday, everybody's gonna come over and look at this thing, right? I'm gonna show them the difference, right? There's mode 1. I'm gonna go wide open throttle, mode 1. Right? So it's a nice, slow momentum. It's got plenty of torque and power. Most of you guys actually rode around the parking lot in mode 1, and it put a smile on your face. So it's definitely enough to feel like there's some motor there, but nothing too startling. I'm going to move to mode 2, and mode 2 is our low MX setting, right? I'm going to go wide open throttle. It's enough to get you bumped up over something. There's also enough regen when you let off the throttle to kind of help drop that front end and correct and get you back down. I'm going to go back to mode 3. Right? Now this is our high horsepower but low rate of speed setting. This is perfect for if you need the power but you don't want the bike to get loose. This is where it's at. Right? So all the torque, all the power, but it's really holding back. You can almost think of it as traction control. When I'm trail riding, I'm usually hopping between mode 1 and mode 3. Mode 4 is a little terrifying on the track. It's just really easy to huck it. Like, I go to mode 4. This is our overclock mode. This is why you need, like, if you demonstrate this, I've done it a million times. It's definitely good. And sales team, there's something to be said about having the customer you're showing. Hey, here, hold on to this, will you? Have them hold on to it while you. If you watch the dash, that last little blip, 75 miles an hour. So it gets right to it. Nobody hops off our base model MX in mode 4 and goes, yeah, but I wish it had more power. Ain't gonna happen. And usually they've only ridden in mode 2. So we'll move on to the EX. EX is probably my favorite bike. There's a bunch of reasons for it. I think for a nominal bump in price, we're going from $10,500 to $11,999, and again on these bikes that does not include the charger because we have some charger options. This bike gives your customer, gives yourself a much broader range of riding. Right? We can ride this thing around town. We can commute on it if you wanted to. Maybe these tires aren't the best for commuting on. But are
they ODOT tires?
They are DOT. We picked the gnarliest looking DOT tires we could and put it on here, but you could certainly change that up. That's an option you could give your customers, or if you wanted to on your floor models. If we have dealers that they have their favorite tire, right? They'll put it on their demo bike, and that's what they do. The other reason I like it is it's a little better equipped for trail riding, for off-road, which is kind of what I love. I'm not a very fast guy. Motocross thing still kind of terrifies me a little bit, but I can rip on the trail. This bike's set up for that. We've got an 18-inch rear wheel. So again, we're running the Warp 9 stuff. You guys know all about the 18-inch rear tires, right? These give you much bigger sidewall, gives you a lot better traction, a little bit more forgiveness over the gnarly stuff. The suspension's set up a little bit differently too. It shares the same components as the base model MX, but the setting's a little bit different. You can kind of feel the geometry change between the two. I say geometry change because there is a slight difference I don't even know that I could visually pick it out, but this rear subframe, where the motor is mounted to the frame, is slightly different than on the MXs, and it just changes the shock location enough that you can feel it.
Fun fact though, the bike that Josh Hill was riding against Ricky Carmichael in at Geneva, was it Geneva or Paris, was an EX. It was a stock EX.
Stock EX. Off the floor, total stock bike.
And it's a different thing. He was only doing a couple laps, but that's of note how good the chassis is. It was basically the same thing.
Yeah. So side stand, headlight, tail light, turn signals, plate locate. There's all the stuff to make this bike street legal. And the first few of these that we sold, obviously people were loving the off-road. Off came the mirrors, off came the license plate holder, and you're left with still a pretty well-rounded trail bike. You've got a skid plate on the bottom of this. It's pretty burly. Definitely adds a little bit of protection to the battery case on the bottom, and you got some little lever guards up front too. This guy, the EX, has different riding modes than the MX. I can't really display this because the side stand eliminates you from twisting the throttle when it's down, but the riding modes are a lot better formed for trail riding and for street riding. So this definitely covers the bridge of off-road to commuting really well. So mode 1 maybe is just a little bit peppier than mode 1 in that, but mode 2 on this still kind of maintains the trailability. It doesn't have quite as much like out of control squirt. It's a lot better geared for the trail. And then mode 4 on this, I believe, does it bump is that just the SM that bumps the top
I think
speed
that's
on
just the SM, but
right. We won't get into that.
Yeah, sure.
But the mode 3 and 4 are a little better suited for road riding as well. So definitely, who checked these bikes in? Anybody go into the dealer portal yet to actually?
Service, I don't think anybody else.
We'll get into that, make sure we did it right. But as the bikes come in, you guys will see, as of now, we're still getting them here in the Northwest assembled. There's very little assembly to do on them. They pretty much come out of the crate with 3/4 of a charge on them, almost ready to go. I'm glad to see you guys charge them up overnight, which is what I recommend for floor models. Keep them charged, keep the charger floating around here, so you can kind of show a customer how that works, and I'm happy to show everybody here how that works if you want. And I think one of these is your demo.
Okay. Great.
I think this EX may be one of your demos. So, anyhow.
Cool.
So they come with a charger in the crate.
Yeah.
We sell them separately to keep the cost down. Guy buys 2. I only got 1 charger. I already got 1 charger. I don't need the other one. Thanks.
Totally up to you. You can try to hang on to that charger and sell it some other way, but we're sending all of the bikes out with appropriate chargers. You could probably ask to get a bike without charger if you had plenty of them here. Like, hey, tell you what, the next MX, don't send with the charger. We have enough. We have already run into one little hiccup on our current MXR, which you guys haven't received yet. So that's the new R pack, and we'll get into that a little bit. That R pack can charge even faster than these bikes with the rapid charger. The rapid charger is not ready yet, so all of that first push of bikes is coming with the standard charger. It's going to be, you're going to get the rapid charger as well, so it's going to be a 2 for any of the early delivery MXRs.
Kind of range on that bike?
So on these bikes, and honestly, I haven't tested the street range on this bike much, but I'm going to say capable of 50 to maybe 60 miles range, moderate riding, and certainly more back road riding. If we get up on the freeway, you're going to limit your range on this pretty significantly.